Hello classmates, this is Sergio Davila. How are y'all doing? My discussion today has to do with how the Cold War was dealt with in Latin America and Yugoslavia. Each region had different sets of circumstances and events that marked the goings-on of each area. To start off, the Cold War in Yugoslavia had three eras that marked for a very dramatic Cold War experience. In further researching Gerson S. Sher's writing on the Tito-Stalin split, it stated that there was initial friendship with the Soviet Union, then Josip Tito splitting with Stalin's brand of communism, and a few years later, a normalization of relations between the two communist giants. Sher's research is very sound, and his methods are quite genius. It is said that this split was very personal for Stalin and was even considering military action on Yugoslavia for deviating from his ideology. Tito fostered a less centralized form of government with less repression than is usually expected from an ally of the Warsaw Pact. That being said, Yugoslavia became part of the non-aligned movement in the Cold War. With Stalin's death in 1953, the USSR and Yugoslavia normalized relations, however, though Yugoslavia still stayed neutral in the Cold War and stayed with that non-aligned movement. The second area that is noteworthy in the Cold War is the Latin American theater. While the coups in the United States sponsored against communist governments such as Chile, Brazil, and the Dominican Republic were very flagrant and violent, the communist revolution in Nicaragua was very noteworthy with the involvement of Daniel Ortega, Oliver North, and Ronald Reagan. Kai Thaler and Eric Mosinger's work on the continued socialist subversion in Nicaragua is pretty eye-opening and is a sound chronicle of the saga of Nicaragua's proletariat history. There was also detailed research on how Ortega had used communism overtly in his takeover of Nicaragua in 1985 and used it covertly in 2007 to undermine democratic structures such as separation of powers, checks and balances, and electoral procedures. He essentially got reelected into being president of Nicaragua from 2007 and remained in power until 2025 because he took away a lot of the election laws that were set forth by previous presidents. So essentially, the Cold War in Yugoslavia and Nicaragua both had interesting aspects and had significant consequences on world peace, and the fate of the people of both communist and capitalist worlds were put into effect and put them at risk for their actions. So that being said, I'm happy to end this by saying thank you, classmates. I hope you enjoy it. I'll be replying to yours as well. Bye.